chance to all get together, to network, to hopefully share ideas about what's going on in your different companies, learn from each other. And of course, we've got an amazing program with some wonderful speakers.
CEOs and CFOs have is the black box of cybersecurity. What is that Chief Information Security Officer doing? Do you have visibility? Do you know what they're doing? This is what the SEC is now asking the board of directors, the CEO, or the C-level. Right? The responsibility can no longer be with the nerds, right? Just typing away. And so you have to have visibility into your cyber program. You don't have to deeply understand it, but you have to show a document, a memo, a legal document demonstrating, I know that these are the gaps, this is what I've been told, I've signed off on this, in the same way Sarbanes-Oxley made all CFOs and CEOs sit up straight.
Connect into these devices and speak to them in their native language, like their management server, and you can then fix things like changing credentials, updating firmware, fixing certificates, shutting off Telnet, all those things, right? And I didn't talk about the product, but we have the only platform in the world that actually can do that, by the way. But this is now a massive attack surface. It's there everywhere. We've got to be looking at these things. Attackers all over the place are looking at them. A lot of these systems are getting attacked. You don't know about it because a lot of organizations that get hacked and even ransomware, they don't tell you what happened, but they're hitting these types of devices, okay?
One forecast and one forecast only. Have your baseline forecast, which you have a high level of confidence in, but then always look at your upside and downside forecast, even if it's a 10% probability on either way, because then you can understand your reaction levers. You know, if it's an upside, are you going to add additional shifts? Are you going to add additional lines? Are you going to divert capacity from another product? You know, being able to perform those what-if scenarios, and not just from a capacity perspective, but from a financial perspective, and understand what the impact to the business is.
Very true. So how many of you think of your suppliers in terms of spend? How much do I spend with this supplier? Raise your hands, come on. How many of you think of your suppliers that way? Everybody does, right? How many of you have thought about how much revenue for your company, your income, is tied to each of your suppliers? Anybody think that way? Okay, Bob thinks that way. That's because we talk a lot, right? That's a whole new way of thinking. Guys, it's a big deal. As we went through this and looked at our supply base, we switched our way of thinking. Yeah, we still look at spend. Nobody's going to stop looking at that. When it's time to negotiate your prices, what are you going to do? Pay attention to spend, right? Where can I get the most bang for my negotiation buck, right? But when you're looking at risk, it's a whole different story. It's not about spend. It's about how does this supplier impact my business and what I can ship. We found
in the morning, my customer places an order. I order the raw materials. They get delivered to me. The product is made. I deliver the product to the customer, and everybody's happy by the evening. Right? Because if in that ideal world, I haven't tied up working capital, not very long. It's only tied up for one day. The whole process works smoothly. I can get quick responses. The customer's happy, I'm happy, I don't have a huge inventory. So how many of you live in this world? Have any of you even experienced something even remotely close to this? But what we're trying to do is start approaching this ideal.
So Professor Zacharia tasked me with talking about supply chain. And I was like, oh my God, we are a startup. What are all these executives going to get out of hearing about a startup's messy supply chain? And so what I thought I would talk about today is just kind of our supply chain history of starting with a sample made out of a paper bag, to shipping out of my parents' garage, to appearing on Shark Tank just a couple of months ago and turning Modern Picnic into what it is today.
Now let's look at the third one. The third disadvantage, and that is most striking one, is CM encroachment. What does that mean? It simply means that the contract manufacturer will aggressively move from upstream to downstream and compete with their OEM with the self-branded products to the end user. A very well-known example of CM encroachment is Acer. About 2 to 3 decades ago, IBM and Apple outsourced the computer manufacturing function to Acer. This arrangement only lasts for a while. Then Acer decided to develop and sell its own self-branded products, and now Acer is a strong competitor in the computer industry.